So recently, there's been a change in the salary threshold. There's also been about over 100 jobs taken out of the sponsorship route. Can you shed more light on it?
Let's talk about the salary threshold.
Yes.
Previously, the salary threshold was, I think, for somebody over the age of 30 would be about 26,200. It would be lower for people on, I think, shortage occupation codes, such as in healthcare. It would be slightly lower if you're under 30. For some strange reason, they decided to increase it at that stage to 37,400.
Yes.
Which was, it was several percentage points higher than one of the average wage figures, which was, I think, was 34,000 at the time. The problem with that is, and that was quite punitive, because people might be coming into the United Kingdom to work as a manager in a restaurant or working as a health care manager,
Yes.
professional, and the small business could afford £26,000, £28,000. All of a sudden, it's gone up to £37,000. So that, I think, is quite punitive. Recently, I think it's now increased to over £41,000. And it's I think it's 31,000 if you're under 30 or under a certain age. So, and that's, I can understand the rationale behind that, but I think that the appropriate level would be the same salary. It's gone too high. I can't see any justification for, I need to employ someone to run my business. If I get somebody from abroad, I can pay them 26,200. But if I'm paying the average wage in the UK, it's going to cost me 34,000. That's not an incentive to recruit UK people.
Yes.
But if it's the same amount, then that seems to me to be a slightly more equitable system. And then there's something else that's not been talked about, is that if I want to employ 10 people and bring them in, I'd still have to pay an immigration skills charge. So I'd be paying them either £1,300 if I'm a big company, or just under £500 if I'm a small company. So there would be a benefit.
The same thing, Donald Trump has increased $200,000 for American companies who wants to sponsor people.
I'm sure we should mention his name.
We'll cut it out. we'll cut that bit out.
Maybe we'll get rid of that.
Yeah.
Maybe other countries in the world have increased it a huge amount.
Yes.
But I think that there's the skills charge that they have in there. I think it's about right. There's another thing that's not often talked about, which is if I identify a need for work, I can't find somebody in the UK, I bring somebody from abroad. That person, I have to pay the skills charge to the Home Office, which I accept. My employee has to pay national insurance contribution.
Yes.
And then they also have to pay the immigration health surcharge.
Which is how much now?
I think it's in excess of £1,000 a year.
A year.
A year.
So if you're sponsored for 5 years,
it's 5,000.
For the principal applicant, it's 5,000. If it's a family of 3,
well, that's a lot of money then, isn't it?
And if they're a family of 5,
and then on top of that, they don't come in and go, do you know what? I won't have to pay the national insurance because I've paid it up front. Then they'll still claim the national insurance for the entire period. And if it's more or less around the 10% mark and they're on whatever it is, £38,000 a year, then they're going to be paying £4,000 a year. On top of that, 5 years, it's about £20,000. So they're paying twice.
Yes.
So the idea that migrants, they're coming here and taking our benefits, I think they've done studies, and I know this is hugely contentious. Most of the migrants, and perhaps because they're younger, are a net contributor to the United Kingdom as opposed to somebody that takes something out.
And it's a good thing you said that, because a lot of people, and I've spoken to a lot of people in my time, because people are curious whenever I'm at work. They want to know where you come from, how you navigated the UK space and got to where you got to. And one of the things that people don't really say is the fact that people pay health surcharge, which is a whole lot of money. That's one, that people are not eligible to claim benefit for that first 5 years. And for most people in skilled workers visa, not the healthcare, not the Boris wave, by the time they get to indefinite leave to remain, they're earning so much that they're not eligible to claim any benefit. because they're earning way more than the threshold. So why is it that they're not talking about this?
I think they talk about the benefits aspect of it, and I think that just talking about that, the idea that someone's going to come to the United Kingdom and live on benefits and live like royalty is, the people that say that probably haven't lived on benefits, because the level in the United Kingdom, both in respect of the state pension and in respect of the benefits that are paid to people, is quite low. In fact, people would struggle to live with any dignity on it. And the idea that people would do that they would come here, get a job just so that they could live on £50 or £49 a week or £70 a week, I think is fanciful. And I think that some people do try to have the conversation about, are migrants net contributors to the United Kingdom's economy? The problem is with that is it's statistics. So people then, you can read statistics any way you want to.
Absolutely.
And I think that sadly over the last 10 years or so, if not longer, the truth doesn't really have any value. We have the alternative truth. And
Perception is greater than reality.
That's right. And with social media, you can feed people a diet of whatever they want, and then and then the algorithms that social media use will feed people what they think they want, and so you could turn around and say, well, actually, without migrants, the UK would be in a terrible situation, and they will go, yeah, that's right, but we've still got too many, and then you say, well, what would the UK look like without migrants? And better. And I'm thinking, in what way would it be better? But culturally, would it be better? I mean, the UK, I think it's a fantastic success story in the melting pot that in London, in particular, you mix with people of all different religions, all different colours, all different nationalities, and more or less they all rub along together. I don't see any great friction between different groups.
Yep.
And I think that should be celebrated, not denigrated. I was reading about the Danish system, and the Danish system is one where they don't like people living in what they call ghettos, and they move people, and they don't allow people any sort of permanent status, and I think that would be terrible, because I've seen people from East Africa come to the United Kingdom and make a huge success.
Absolutely.
I've seen people come from the Caribbean and make a huge success, from West Africa and make a huge success. I've seen various waves of people coming in. The Europeans came in. I remember when the Polish people turned up. Polish people, because too many of them they're undercutting everybody. And then within a few years, they're part of the community. And so it's, what I've liked about the UK is that it's assimilated people, and it's taken things from them, and it's taken often the best from people's cultures.
When the government introduced, and thanks for explaining the threshold and the occupations. So we know that over 140 occupations. Particularly I know about environmental health and safety. So health and safety and environment. Health and safety is a level 4. Environment is level 6. So I know this because I went through sponsorship many years ago. And what they're doing now in terms of downgrading health and safety, not being eligible for sponsorship, together with about over 100 jobs, it's not new. It's what the Conservatives did many years ago, and what people just did was to employ environmental health and safety, and then sponsor them on environmental subcode. So, but a lot of people have been caught out. We know that there are employees of TfL currently protesting in the council, in the civil service. So those organizations that used to be able to sponsor their employees, in fact, they appointed people on the basis of, we will sponsor you at the end of your post-study work visa, or graduate visa as it's called now. And they increased this threshold, and they removed these jobs from the sponsorship route, and they didn't give enough time for people to react or get another job. Now they're stuck, and we have thousands of people. What is your advice for these people who are stuck?
Unless they can requalify or find an employer or find a job that meets the NQF, I think it's level 6.
Yes.
Then they have nowhere to go. They have been I would advise them obviously to remain in the United Kingdom lawfully, and then I would hope that that it changes. Now, you mentioned that previously these jobs were excluded by the Conservatives. It seems to me it's like a wave, because I was reading the list, and there were some of the ones on there that were surprising that they'd got on there at all, like dog
in the first
walkers.
place, yeah.
So I'm thinking dog walkers and reflexologists.
It was COVID.
I'm aware of babysitting,
Yeah.
and so you had these ones, and then I saw on there they've taken out butchers, and then some other, a lot of, for example, one that came as a surprise to me, ambulance driver. That's no more on there. If you're a paramedic, you're okay, but if you're an ambulance driver,
you're not. The paramedics will drive the ambulance.
So unless they find someone that's creative in the job title and upskill it, then I think those people are stuck. But my hope would be that when they realise that they can't get enough people in, and with regards to, and then in the construction industry, I made a big song and dance about bricklayers, plasterers, etc. They're all on the list.
Yes.
And now they're all off the list. And then I would imagine, and I would think that a bricklayer would, it might be considered an NQF level 3 job, but their salary is likely to be way in excess of the minimum level.
Absolutely.
So there's a tension there, which is, well, we don't want these people doing it, but I'm a plumber or I'm a plasterer, and they're earning 60, 70, 80,000 pounds a year because they're skilled. We don't want them. It doesn't really make much sense. And hopefully if there's a pushback from the construction industry, then I think that that maybe they'll include them or put them back on.
Yes.
But this is, again, it seems to me it's a simplistic solution for a complex problem, which is, right, we can go NQF level 3, let's just cut all of them out. That's great. We've removed all of these people, but without realising that some of the people were earning significant amounts of money, of which a lot of that would go to the tax man. And then some of them are doing jobs that aren't easily replaceable from within the UK. And so I think that once it settles down, they may find them being put on the temporary list and sliding on that way. And I hope that's what happens.
But at that time, it will be too late for a lot of people that are stuck now, and their graduate visa is going to expire anytime soon. Because for me, I've had about 3-4 calls from different people to say, what do I do? And I was like, I don't know, you need to speak to a lawyer.
I mean, I think I do feel, again, this is, I mean, there's no real legal challenge to it against the entire system. I do feel for people that came here, they've done their degree, they've gone on to the graduate route. The graduate route is often either is a stepping stone to sponsorship and then on to indefinite leave to remain. It's not a shortcut. You do a degree of 1 year, 2 years on the graduate route, 5 years on the skilled worker. It's 8 years. You're not getting
paying into the system for 8 years.
You paid your immigration health surcharge.
Yes.
You will have paid a huge amount in Home Office fees in that period. You will have contributed to the education sector, the tax man, as well as any other work that's been done. So I do feel for those people, but I think that at the moment, and we talked about this, that the problems that the country faces, it's easy to talk about immigration. Immigration doesn't really. If you remove, it's not the cause of the UK's problems. It's to do with underfunding, underinvestment, whether the tax burden's right. It's also, and I know we're not going to talk about it, it's also because we live in a global economy. We're no longer masters of our own destiny. And so whatever happens around the world, whether it's in Europe or whether it's the other side of the Atlantic, whatever happens there has a direct impact on the UK. If those other countries or areas were doing fantastically well, we would be doing reasonably well without doing anything different.
Yeah.
But when they're struggling with things, and when there's war, we struggle. And the UK government has, they love the word lever. They don't have much of a lever to pull. So rather than saying, look, actually, we've only got a tiny lever, it's not going to make much difference. But you know that's how things are. Let's just talk about migrants.